Hello all and welcome to another video in my journey to 1 million Gamerscore, and today I am covering April part 2. Now by all means this month has been a bit tame by my standards, and the second half has been even tamer than the first half, but stay with me, we do have 5 easy completions to talk about, and we have Mortal Kombat 11 to blame for it as well, because obviously April the 23rd, stroke of midnight, when the game was available to play, I was on it straight away. I hit it hard. I absolutely smashed it, and yes, I got the completion. I can't believe it. So we're going to talk about that one in depth a little bit, as well as everything else that I picked up along the way. So let's go to the games and show you what I got. And as you know, if you've seen one of these videos before, I always say this, and that's I like to do them in chronological order. So first up, I always like to get a completion under the belt at the beginning for one of these videos, and that was no exception, and it was Dying Reborn this time. I used my guide guy, as I call him, MK11, and the guide on his channel had a 57-minute run time. Used it. I always allow for pausing and etc. like that, so add a little bit on, double it perhaps, so hour to 2 hour mark with the guide, and you'll get that one done. Next up, another super easy completion. Ratalaika games are synonymous for it, as I always mention, I always seem to mention a lot, and that is Iron Snout. And this one is no different. One slightly tricky achievement, you have to defeat an enemy in a certain way. I've made a guide on that for you. Should mention that in that video I forgot to mention you need to leave blood turned on. It is in a pinned comment, but that's for impaling an enemy on a branch. The other tricky-ish one is just because it's misleadingly titled, and that is for killing 10 enemies in 1 HP mode. I made a YouTube video on that as well if you want to check that out. It's basically for killing 10 enemies in endless mode. As I say, it's an easy completion, but there is a little bit of a grind to it because it does want you to kill a certain amount of enemies as well. So that knocks it up to the hour mark once you've learnt those other 2 little things that I made videos about. So check them out. But Iron Snout, easy completion, round about the hour mark. The latest Neo Geo game thrown in the store was Samurai Showdown 5 Special. Now I remember when I did Samurai Showdown 5, I used a character called Mina. She's this girl that wears this sort of like white skimpy dress, has a large bow and arrow, and I pressed RB and just spammed my way through that. It does a large projectile by pressing RB. Now it got me through caravan mode, no problem. It got me through high score mode, no problem. And I thought, yeah, crank original mode down to level 1, which you still should do. It's that's going to get me through that. It's going to get me the 9 wins I need. However, I got to round 7 or fight 7, and it was congratulations, you finished the game, game over. And I was like, well, how'd you get to 9 then? That's a bit odd. So I can't take any credit for working this one out. I went on trueachievements.com, searched up the solution for original mode 9 wins, and you have to finish rounds 7 to get to round 8. And you have to finish round 8 to get to round 9 in certain ways, and the solution on that is bang on. It's using a different character, but because it's on level 1 that won't affect you, that should be easy. I can't remember what character name it is, but obviously it's in the solution. It tells you how to do its version of a fatality on the opponents. Just remember to create save data at very certain points frequently, so that if you get there that you haven't got to do it again or start again, or if you mess up the fatality you just go to the point where you start it. But if I'd have known that before I started, it would have shaved a bit of time off me doing it, but still it easily fits between the hour and 2 hour mark. Samurai Showdown 5 Special. Next up, we'll skip past Word, I just kept up with my badges on that. Is another Ratalaika game. They're synonymous for easy achievements, aren't they? Again, another one with no difference here. It couldn't be more Space Invaders clone if it tried. Honestly, it is basically Space Invaders with a different title and their take on it. Super easy, and yeah, the only one that was a little bit tricky was the level 2 boss, because once you lose all your lives, it's a case of game over or continue at an earlier point from that second boss. But if you get to that boss with all your lives intact, or managing to earn the extra life and get in there, that'll make him a lot easier. He was just slightly tricky. Again, even if with 1 life, you should be, with a bit of trial and error and practice, not cause you too much of a problem. But all the others are certainly very easy. I can throw that in there as tricky, but I screwed up once and started all the way over again and made sure I got to him with all my lives intact, and then it was no problem at all. Took a hit, not an issue. Got all my lives. So yeah, still under an hour this one, not difficult at all. Next up is a game I can blame for being a bit of a tame month, second half to the month, and that was because I thought I'd play Need for Speed, see what I can get out of it, and then maybe I'll just move on from it after getting a chunk out of it. However, I got addicted to it. The graphics in this, I think, are quite beautiful, and I must admit I didn't think I was going to like it after half an hour, but once I got the hang of the game and got a half decent car and then a decent car, and then with that decent car upgraded it, it became enjoyable. You'll get a couple of hundred out of it within the first 2 to 3 hours, but after that it's a lengthy game, and it'll be a lengthy completion if you go for it. According to TrueAchievements.com, I've got the base 1000. Obviously, being at 2200, they added more to it, which isn't DLC either. It's in the game. The trick that I would give, and if I'd have done this sooner, it would shave some time off, is once you get enough money to buy the hot rod, which buying the hot rod is an 80G achievement alone, do that, because then it makes winning all the races so much easier, and you'll fly through them. But you'll find you'll get stuck on around about 200 for quite a while, and then you'll progress through all the different sort of missions and story sections with live actors, by the way, and then all of a sudden a lot of them will start unlocking at once. The real grind in this is, I've got one more achievement I want to get out of this before I totally give up, and that is get to rep level 70. I'm in the mid 50s at the moment. Once you get to about 40, it does become a grind. There was sadly a solution on YouTube for making it real easy, but they patched it. So prepare to be for a grind on rep, and then after that, the others achievements look really tricky and really difficult. And a guy who's not that good at driving games, I think it will be time for me to move on once I pull that 80G out of it. But a lot of fun this game, and that's probably about 50 hours put into it to get that 1800. But I do recommend it. It was fun, and as I say, beautiful graphics. Okay, next up, waffled on about that enough, so we'll move on to Neo Geo Samurai Showdown 5. Got a little mention earlier. They've now added it to the Windows 10 store, so I whipped out the laptop and stacked it. I remember what I did before with Mina. The only thing I forgot was with the boss, you can't just stand on the floor and spam RB. You have to just jump continuously, one after the other. As soon as you hit the floor, jump again. And then when you press RB, she jumps really high. When you press RB, she fires directly downwards. But eventually the boss will move close enough for one to hit, and then he'll do this attack and it will hit. He'll spawn into this thing that is invincible for a while, and if you keep jumping and firing down, you'll stay out of his firing line. And sort of trick him by doing that, and then he'll turn back to normal. You can and literally just keep jumping high in the air and firing down. It's almost worth making a guide on, I think, once I discovered that. But yeah, I used Mina again and spammed RB and got through all of them modes pretty quickly once I'd learnt that little trick on the boss. Also need to kind of use it on the sub boss. There's 10 rounds and 9 and 10 don't change. The only other thing I found out as well, and this slowed me down, it's why I needed to learn how to beat the boss, because in high score mode you can't change the difficulty, and if you're playing it on Windows 10, I don't know about Xbox Live or just the Xbox One version, but the high score mode, you now have to basically complete the game to register your score. So that's one of the things that slowed me down. So if you're going to play the Windows 10 version, just bear that in mind. So, but once you've learnt the trick and got it down to fine art, it still falls within the 1 to 2 hour bracket. So yeah, pleased to have that on there and just stack that one. And then finally, last game already. It's not Microsoft Solitaire Collection. I can't get into that. I don't really care for it. But you'll notice above it is Mortal Kombat 11 at 100%. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And we're going to talk about this one in depth a little bit, because there's lots of things in here which tips and tricks will speed things up a little bit. So let's go down the bottom and do this one in chronological order as well. But I can't emphasise how pleased I am by doing this, because I absolutely love Mortal Kombat games, and they've just patched the coin grind that people are moaning on about, and it's come just too late for me because I've done it now. But right, first achievement I got, complete all basic tutorials. That is super easy. I did that one straight away, obviously. Flip starts 50 times during a match. If you're doing a very easy match, which is 3 rounds long, and all you got to do is spam LT, they hardly attack you, and you can get your 50 in before the round's even over. And the same applies to ducking, just flicking the left thumbstick down a total of 100 times in the same match. That's not too difficult, even though they are still rare and at a low percentage. Right, perform 2 different fatalities with Katana. Now, Katana's my go-to, that's why she appears first, but that achievement is tied to every character. Now, when you get to finish her stage and you press start, you can go to the move list, and one of them is available to you from the off when you get the game. The other one is a mystery, so you can either look up the solution online, or you can, when you play the game, every time you level up you earn time crystals, and you can go into a store, and with the time crystals you can buy skins and stuff that rotate, but at the same time you can buy easy fatality tokens. So your other route is, if you can't find the solution online, you haven't unlocked it in the crypt, you can buy an easy fatality token and hold down right trigger and press B, and as long as you're standing at the right distance, press start, it will still tell you the distance, it will perform the fatality and count towards the achievement. So you can still manipulate that even if you can't, if you don't know how, and you've earned enough crystals. So I'm not going to say this for every character, because obviously 2 different fatalities is going to pop up a lot as I go up from here. Okay, reach the credits is tied down to the one above, I would say, because when you complete a Novice Warrior or Champion Classic Tower once, obviously the last thing that will happen is you'll see the credits, so that will unlock. To make that super easy, Novice is only 5 opponents and the boss, so put that on very easy if you just want to whip through that and get that done real quick. Not too difficult at all. That, as I say, you basically unlock 25G when you play a Novice Tower and finish it. Another 2 fatalities one, another 2 fatalities, again with Scorpion. Complete the tower, let's say do the Novice one, that's the shortest one, with 10 different characters. Now what you can do here is, as you're doing it with 10 different characters, get yourself a little checklist, or do what I did, I just worked my way from the top down and moved my way along. After I was Katana, that was, got to use Katana first, she's my go-to. So yeah, complete Novice Tower. First fight did a fatality, second fight did a fatality, then you got 3 more fights. Now do a brutality. If I explain now how to do the easy brutality, I can just skip past those in a second. The easiest brutality applies to all characters. There is one brutality, as I say, applies to all characters. Now if you're on very easy, they're not going to attack you so much, so you won't need to block. If you do not block, when it comes to a winning predicament of the final hit getting you to what would be the finish him, finish her stage, if you hold down a Y, which does your classic uppercut, it will actually do a brutality and knock their head off. It applies to all opponents, but the stipulation is, for that to happen, is you cannot block at all during the match. So keep your finger off right trigger, and if you've got it on very easy, you can farm that one out real quick. So it's just a little tip I'm throwing in there now, because you can then, with your, after you've done your fatalities, you can add 3 to every one of these towers that you do. Because on Chronica you can't do a fatality or brutality, but they're just throwing that in there now. Okay, so 15 different fatalities, that's going to come while you're doing all the 2 different ones, which is why it's there before we get on to another one with Sub-Zero, with Kano. 10,000 pints of blood, don't need to give you any advice on that, it's just going to happen. Another Kung Lao, 2 fatalities. Right, 25 brutalities. Just explain how to do a brutality. So once you've gone through certain modes and done a lot of the other modes, you can farm it out by just going back to the Novice Tower and doing it over and over again, but specifically just doing brutalities if you've done all the fatalities. As I say, just use that real easy one by ducking a Y, as long as you don't block in the fight. Right, 2 fatalities with Scarlet, 30 different fatalities again, go for all those fatality ones, that's going to happen. Cetrion, right, hit the gong in the crypt. This is very early on and is progressional as well if you want to get far enough in the crypt to do some of the other achievements. I've done a YouTube video guide on how to get to it real quick and real easy, so feel free to check that out if you want to do it. It's hard to explain how to get there with no visuals, so I'm just going to advise you to watch my video if you want to know how to do it quickly and straight away. Okay, so 2 fatalities again, another 2 fatalities, 50 consumables. Now I would say before you just go using it consumables to get the achievements, save them all up. You will need to do something in the Towers of Time mode. I will get to that shortly. It's another 2 fatalities, another 2 fatalities, another 2. Show mercy 10 times. Right, to do a mercy, once you get to the finish him, her phase, you need to be standing around about the mid distance, hold the left trigger down, hit down 3 times and release the left trigger, or at least 3 times. You can spam the hell out of down as long as you've hit it 3 times. That'll do. And then when you get left go trigger, the big yellow letters will say mercy. The opponent will come back to life with a small amount of health, and then you have to beat them, and it will come up finish him or her again, so you can still do your fatality, or you can do your brutality once they're back alive again. It's a great way if you accidentally screw up by just hitting them, or to actually get back and have another go. But performance fatalities with collector, that's another 2. That's another 2, one, another 2, another 2. Obviously one on the purge of getting them done. Another 2, another 2, another 2 with noob. with Liu Kang this time, with Raiden this time. There's the 100 consumables. Wait till we get to the Tower of Times, and I wish I'd have known this before I did this. I did farm it out before I got to the Tower of Times, because you need to do something there to get intros. Get to that in a second. There's the 100 brutalities thing. As I say, use that uppercut one. Defeat opponent as Bugvora. I'm going to take no credit for this because I had no idea how to do this. MK11 made a guide on his channel for this individual achievement. I used that and got it done after about 3 or 4 attempts. It's a little bit hit and miss at the same time. Right, spend 50k coins in the Nadan Shrine. Did I say that right? After you've done the bit in my video and hit the gong, another big door will open. When you go through that big door, if you turn right and look to your left, the shrine is there. If you've got 50,000 coins, you can whack them all in at once and unlock the achievement. I would highly recommend you put 1,000 in, because the first thing you get for just spending 1,000 coins is an item you'll need for crypt progression. If you've got the coins after spending 1,000, just spend another 49,000, it will unlock. Run 5 miles in the crypt, hold down RT every time you're moving about, and that will come with natural progression. Right, complete story mode, 50% and complete story mode. Now, you can go into the options and make the fights within story mode very easy, and that'll obviously just move that along with no difficulties. However, I would say just watch the story at least, because it is a very good story and probably the best work that they've done, actually, I think, when it comes to a story mode. And then above that, you'll see perform 2 fatalities with Frost. Now, she's unlocked at a certain point in the story mode, so once you've done the story mode, you'll then be able to play as Frost without paying for her, and then you can do the 2 fatalities with her. Use that same little trick with perhaps buying an easy fatality token that I spoke about earlier. Complete 125 towers. We'll get to towers once I get to the 251. Pay 100 total respect points to King of the Hill online mode. Go into the King of the Hill mode. Hopefully there's a few people in the lobby. Every time you watch a fight, you get the chance to pay respect. Just whack the max amount in, which is 10, so you only have to do it 10 times. If you're in a fight and you win, you can't pay respect, but if you're in a fight and you lose, you can still pay respect as well. So just, you need to either watch and lose as well at the same time, perhaps, a total of 10 times, and pay 10 respect in King of the Hill, and that will come along super quick, really. It's not too long, that one. My AI can do it 10 AI battles and 25 AI battles. Yeah, I just went into mode and picked any 3 characters, didn't really care. Set up an AI battle against one of the options and just let the computer play out. You can speed it up. It does. I can't remember which button you have to press, but it does tell you bottom center how to speed it up, so it goes at like 4 times speed instead of just a regular speed. You go 2 times or 4 times, but obviously whack up at the 4 times. So they go through them quicker. And right, compared to 50 casual matches, obviously this is online. There's no way of speeding this up. You have to play 50 best of 3s. I did it seriously. You could just speed up by losing 2 rounds every time, but where's the fun in that? That's pathetic. I did quite well, actually. I think I suck at these games, these fighting games, but I actually had a bang on 50% win rate. I won 25 and lost 25. Also, you can annoy people, but you can farm your fatalities in this and farm your brutalities in this if you're good enough. Right, complete 250 towers. Now, I would suggest going for all other achievements and actually leaving the complete towers till last, because you will just accumulate a few naturally. But I've done a video on my channel on how to trick the system. I started an endless tower and then I had to go. And then when I went, I noticed that quit out. I noticed it counted. So I thought, what if you just have one fight, and then when the second one fights, just quit out there. I noticed it counted, so I just quit out straight away. Noticed it counted. I thought, that's unreal. Gotta spread this with the world, because you can put a lot of people can get this done quicker if they know this. So just check my video on the YouTube channel, just so that you know how to do it exactly. So I can, if I haven't explained it too well here. Right, impale a head on a warrior shrine. To impale one head, believe me, you'll need to actually try and earn 5 heads to do the character victories we can just see above. Right, to impale one head, you need to perform 50 fatalities on the same opponent. Once doing it for the 50th time, so like 50 times on Johnny Cage. Once you've done that, you'll get Johnny Cage's 7th head. You can go into the crypt where the warrior shrine is and see the line of spikes and impale a head on it. That will unlock the achievement. However, the way I got the one above 5 different character victories is by impaling 5 heads in the warrior shrine, because it's a guaranteed way of getting a victory. It doesn't give you an intro, but it will give you a victory. So what I did is I went into the survivor tower. You can go into, if you change the rounds to 1, it only applies to survivor tower for some reason. Go into the options, change it down to rounds 1, go into the survivor tower, and then what I did is I played the first 4 opponents over and over again. It took hours, it took absolutely ages, it took hours, but eventually I got the 4 heads I needed, and I went into the crypts, impaled them, and got 4 other victories to go with the first one. So bear that in mind. 50 fatalities on 5 opponents, so it's 250 fatalities total. So that is the easiest way, believe it or not, to get the victories. I think you can find them in the crypt, but they're extremely rare. I hope I've explained that well enough. So any questions on any Mortal Kombat achievements, please put a comment in the section below if I haven't explained it well enough, and I will do my best to help. I at the moment can reply to all comments because I don't get many. Teamwork in Towers of Time, there's like a boss battle in which you can team up with other players. Sometimes I throw up a tag mode, which isn't what you need. You need to throw up a group battle. That will mean there's at least 3 of you in it. Once you've either won or lost it at the end, the achievement will unlock. This is a grindy one. Spear 50 hanging bodies in the crypt. I don't think there's enough to start with, even if you can walk all the way around it in one hit. So you'll see them once you get Scorpion's Spear. I had to use a YouTube guide to find it. Even though it seemed a little bit Captain Obvious, I actually missed it. But use YouTube guide to find the spear if you're having trouble finding it like I did, and then every time you see a hanging body, all you have to do is press Y and it'll spear it and bring it down. I think that I don't think there's 50 in there total, but once you leave the crypt and go back later, a few of them respawn. So every time you go in and out of the crypt, just remember that and try and find a couple, 2 or 3, and eventually you will get there. But that one is a little bit of a grind. This one is a grind. Equip 5 different character intros. The only way I could find to do this real quick, apparently they do turn up in the crypt but quite rarely, is in the Tower of Time section. You can buy a character specific sort of set of towers. Once you complete the 5 or 6 towers, I can't remember how many there were, the rewards do include an intro. Now these towers, basic towers, the first ones, don't buy the second one for 50k, just buy the first one for 25k in coins. Will net you an intro once you've done them all. You do need to do a certain amount of uppercuts and throws to be able to go into the last 2, so bear that in mind in the first 2 or 3 towers, because if you don't meet the requirements, you can go out and go into other towers in Classic and wherever, and then go back to it, but it's just a lot easier if you stay in it and get it all done in one time. So try and win as many fights by doing uppercuts and throws at the same times. Anyway, once you've got through your tower, which costs you 25k, you will get an intro for that character and be able to apply it. To say don't do the second one, I don't think you get an intro, another intro for that character. Go out, pick another character and do that intro. It will cost you another 25,000 coins. However, you should earn enough coins. Even if you've got exactly 25,000, use up all your coins, you should earn 25,000 coins out of that set of towers to be able to afford another character's one and get an intro. Do 5 different characters. One's your strongest with. Me, it was Scorpion, Katana, Noob, Sonya, and can't remember. But I did manage to do me 5 intros, so just bear that in mind. That was how to get those. That was a bit of a grind, but this is what I mean about each one has 5 or 6 towers. They, I think, count towards your total towers, so leave those 2 till last. Open 200 crypt chests. Just search when you're in the crypt. I was searching for the cheapest ones a lot. If it cost 10,000 or more, I'd leave them. There is a trick to coin grind by going into AI mode in the Endless Tower. So if you're not busy, or you eat dinner, or you want to watch Netflix or whatever, you kind of still need to hit A after every fight, but you can farm coins like somewhere around about 400 mark out of every fight and just spam it. Honestly, there's a YouTube video on it. I checked that out. That's what I did to help me farm coins out of that. These last 2 were the real ball aches of the completion, and I've only, as you see, I actually finished it in the early hours of the morning, so it's registered it as finishing in May. But to complete all advanced tutorials was tricky-ish, but with a lot of time and practice. I'm useless at entering combos, so that was a real ball. It was a real ball ache for me, but I got it done. But that was, if I thought that was bad, then the strategy tutorial ones was even worse. And in my eyes, the strategy tutorial one is what's going to hold a lot of people back, even though it's a higher percentage than some other achievements. But just persevere, and I think you'll be able to get. If I can do it, even though I love fighting games, I say I'm only half decent at fighting games because I can zone and do basic combos. I can't do anything complex combos, so that's why I sort of I'm kind of intermediate rather than novice, but certainly nowhere near anywhere being pro. But ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased, so pleased to get the completion of Mortal Kombat 11 done. You know, 1,000 out of 1,000. I can't honestly tell you how happy I am to see that on the card. But ladies and gentlemen, that is what I've done this month, and because Mortal Kombat is fresh and new, I hope I haven't bored you too much by talking about it for too long. But I just want to throw some tips and tricks in for this one in its entirety, because of how new it is and how challenging and how grindy it can be and how it can be shortened if you know a few things. Like I say, if you've got any questions about it, please throw those in the comments section below. I'm more than happy to answer those. And as for next month I've decided I've got such a backlog of Xbox 360 stuff, I am seriously going to show it some love. I'll still be playing a bit of one, but expect to see a lot of Xbox 360 games in there. If you've been watching my pickups videos and seen my collection, you'll see I have quite the backlog. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, I will wrap this up now. Thank you as always for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. And finally, as always, take care.